Greetings to all my tech heads out there in the KevTechify Nation, and if you're new here, welcome. In this episode, we're going to look at modifying IPv4 access control lists. We'll be discussing the two methods to modify an access control list, the text editor method and the sequence numbers method. Then we're going to look at how to actually modify a named ACL, and then we'll finally look at some access control list statistics. This episode is part of my series on enterprise networking, security, and automation. I'm Kevin here at KevTechify. Let's get this adventure started. You've created your access control list, and for some reason you decided you need to make a change to that. You need to add in something. You need to add in a new access control entry. You need to take one out. Maybe you typed one in. Maybe you made a network change and you have to go in and change some IP addresses or network addresses. There's two methods that you can use to change or modify that access control list. First one is use a text editor. Second one is use the sequence numbers. To use the text editor method, first thing you need to do is get the access control list off of the Cisco IOS and into a text editor. Do a show running -config, find the access control list, copy it out, put it inside the text editor. Make the changes you need to, add in those new networks, take out some of those IP addresses, change some permits and denies around, whatever you need to do. And don't forget to include your remarks into those statements. Once you have that all done, then what you need to do is go and remove that access control list from the router where it's running right now. Once it's removed, then you can go ahead and copy and paste from your text file that new ACL, that modified ACL, back into the router. Here we have an example. We did a show run and we listed our access list section. In our access list 1, we have a deny from a host, and then we have our permit from a network. So we're going to deny one host, but then we're going to permit the network. If you notice, we do have a typo here. Instead of 19.168, it should be 192. We need to go in and make that change. What we can do is we copy this out, highlight it, paste it into our text editor, make our change. Then we come back to our router, remove the existing access control list. That is done by using the word no and then access-list and then the number. We can get that number right here when we did our show run statement, and then we paste it in. And so these two lines is a paste in, and we pasted those in, and notice we made our corrections. We made that correction right here. And now we have our new modified, changed correctly access control list. To use the sequence number method, what you have to do is look at the sequence methods. We enter in the show access list here, and it'll list out all of your access control lists, and then under each of those access control lists, it'll list each one of those access control entries. It will assign a sequence number. These are the sequence numbers right here. That's the first number next to the permit and deny. These are our sequence numbers. And what we can do is use those sequence numbers to change or modify. We could even insert something in here. At sequence number 15, you could insert a new command. But once again, our sequence number 10 has that typo. It should be 192. We need to go ahead and change that. Down here in the continuation of our example, we go into global configuration mode. Then we type in IP access list. We're dealing with a standard access list and number 1. Once again, we get that number from right here. We say no 10. And so what we're doing is we're removing sequence number 10. So that was our sequence number right here. So we're removing that. And then we recreate sequence number 10. We start off with the number of the sequence. Is it a permit, deny, or remark? Here we're denying it. And we are doing a host. and we put in the correct IP address this time, and that's where the 192.168 comes in. We go ahead and do a show access list again, and we can see that we have modified, we have changed it to the correct IP address, 192.168.10.10. To modify a named access control list, first thing we have to do is get the name of that. Using the show access list command again, to list out all the access lists we have and the access control entries here. Here we have one access control list defined. It's no access. Then we can go in here and make the change. What we're going to do, instead of modifying one of our two existing ones, is we can look at the sequence number, because it goes from 10 to 20 right here. That allows us 9 different control entries we could put in between those two. We're going to insert a new one in between those two. To do that, we get into global configuration mode. We go into the access list name. So we start off by IP access list standard, and then the name. Once again, we get that name from our show access list statement, and then we put in our sequence number. Now we're adding a new one in there, so we don't have to remove one where we don't have to go no and then 10. We're just adding a new one in there, so we can start with 15, and then we're going to deny. And now when we do our show access list command again, we can see that they did add in the new entry. We can get different statistics about our access control list, particularly what matched our wildcard mask and our network address. If we do show access lists here, and it's been running for a while, and it was able to actually filter out based upon the different access control entries, at the end of each line, it will give us how many times it was matched. And so here for sequence number 10, the deny of 192.168.10.10, it did 20 matches. So it matched 20 times where this IP address, 192.168.10.10, tried to access something, but we matched it, so we denied it. That happened 20 times. Then we can see that sequence number 20, the permit for 192.168.10.0 with a wildcard mask of 000250, there was 64 matches. Now, you also have to understand that it is since the device rebooted or since you last cleared the statistics. If this is in the course of 2-3 months, maybe that's a good number. But if this is in the course of like 2 minutes, that might be a bad number, and you might have to look into that. Now, to clear those statistics, what we do here is from privilege exec mode, we start with the word clear, and we want to clear our access list counter. So it's access-list space counters, and then the name or the number of our access list. Here we are doing a named one. This is our named here again. And so we're going to clear all the stats. Go ahead and enter this command in, do the show access list command again, and now we don't have any stats to display. There has been no matchings. It'll stay blank until it actually has a match, and it'll tell you the number of those matches and how many times it's been matched. It was my pleasure to provide you with this wonderful episode on modifying IPv4 access control list. If you like this episode and you got value out of it, and of course, depending upon what platform you're using, please click that like button, give a 5-star rating, leave a comment. This all helps me bring you more great content. Please take a minute to subscribe to my channel. All of my socials and contact information are on my website, KevTechify.com. You can get all these episodes in video and podcast form. In the upper right is my playlist for my series on enterprise networking, security, and automation. In the bottom right is one of my favorite videos that I have just for you. Thank you so much for watching this episode of my series on enterprise networking, security, and automation. Once again, I'm Kevin. This is KevTechify. I'll see you next time for another great adventure.